Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. It is good to see you. Hey, happy Mardi Gras. I know it's officially on Tuesday, right? I mean, Mardi Gras is officially Tuesday, but this has been Mardi Gras weekend. And I was doing some celebrating Mardi Gras yesterday and actually had a whole lot of fun. It's been a long time since I have celebrated Mardi Gras, although that was a major part of childhood. Mardi Gras celebrations, but I just hadn't done it in many, many years. And I had forgotten how fun the Mardi Gras theme is. And so I'm going to have to do more of that in future years. So that was like the Saturday before Mardi Gras, also a big Mardi Gras weekend. So I hope you are having a great time. And if you are doing something amazing for Mardi Gras, that was I hope that you have a fantastic time. So anyway, welcome here to my home. Welcome to the office and welcome to the morning grind. It is great to see you. Stray is here. Good to see you, Stray. Very happy that you're here. Remember for 24 months. Thank you, Stray. Hope everything is going great. Let's see. We're going to be continuing our discussion that we had yesterday. And actually, BGD was talking about some things that, hey, maybe in the Discord server that we can talk about here. I was trying to have a conversation the other day with ChatGPT using the O1 model that supposedly uses advanced reasoning. And actually, when I was reading now I was already thinking that maybe we could use Chat GPT for like to construct the simulation or have it write some Python for us or something like that. But it might be more than but it might be able to more directly do the kinds of things that BGD was talking about. So I want to ask it about that and see where we're going with that. I am going I was out for about 13 hours yesterday. So I was I've been exhausted. We've been having fantastic conversations on Table Talk. If you have, I believe the last time we were live was Thursday when we had the breaking news about Kathleen Kennedy, and I tried to put out some clips about that. I've got some more of that to do, but we had a great conversation last Thursday on Table Talk where we were supposed to be talking about, or supposed to be talking with Doug about a retrospective on Kathleen Kennedy's time at Lucasfilm. Doug put together a lot of material on that, but then we kind of got interrupted by breaking news and went through that Deadline article that with the interview with Kathleen Kennedy. So I'm not sure if we're going to be returning, but that generated some fantastic discussion. Cameron came on, and then on. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get back to. I hope we are. Maybe try again to do the second part of the Kathleen Kennedy retrospective on Tuesday. We will try. I haven't spoken to them about it yet, but it would be great to give that another try. Because I do think that's a fantastic conversation in and of itself, to go through. And Doug pulled together a lot of material for that. So I'm not confused with what day this is. This is Sunday morning. So I am going to be sitting here at home, not going anywhere after 13 hours of Mardi Gras. Today, tomorrow, okay, then we got Tuesday, so possibly talk to Doug Tuesday night, then we'll be back here on Wednesday. Okay, kind of getting myself reoriented. Hopefully you are having a great weekend. So thank you for spending your Sunday here on the Morning Grind. So let's go over here. Oh, let's do a breathe and sip, and then we'll talk about what BGD was talking about. Let's see. I say who we got here. I meant to say good morning. So we got. So we said Stray. Better with Bacon is here. Good morning. Good morning. The Titter Pig Rancher is here. Tomocrat is here. Let's see. Robert is here. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Let's do a breathe and sip. I've got my. That's not coffee ready this morning. It is the Mountain Dew. But let's go ahead and breathe and sip. 2 deep breaths. 2 deep breaths. Complete deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage this morning. So here we go. Let's breathe. And sip. All right. I feel like I have a frog in my throat this morning, so we'll see. Hey, good morning, John. So, all right. So we were talking about expected combat lengths. And actually, this is exactly the kind of thing I was thinking about next. So it led into exactly what BGD was talking about in the Discord server. Because using that example from the game with the nephews as an example, we got 3 fighters. Okay, they were all playing fighters. The 2 oldest ones were playing straight fighters. We had a dwarf fighter and a human fighter. And then we had the youngest one who was playing a fighter wizard. So he gets a lot of the fighter aspects too. So he's playing the fighter wizard. So basically we had 3 fighters, 3 fighters, and one of which also happens to be a wizard, burst down the door and try to take out 2 gnolls in a castle. And that, how long should that combat take? Okay, so let's go over here. I had a conversation going with ChatGPT on this, and I've come over here to tell it to use the O1 model, which it says, uses advanced reasoning. Okay, well, we need some advanced reasoning here to apply to our Dungeons and Dragons game. So I'm going to bring this up. Okay, right here. And let's start talking to it and see if it can tell us what we want to know, like what our expected length of combat is here. So let's say, hey, I want to compute expected length of combat. Can you see if I can? We can't really change the font size on this. Oh, that's worse. Maybe. I want to compute the expected length of combat for an AD&D game. Let's use the example of 3 fighters. Well, I want to use AD&D 2nd edition. So let's try to use that. I mean, let's see what actually was supposed to happen, or in a roundabout kind of back of the envelope way. Okay, because here's what BGD says. BGD says, rather than having to go through extensive calculations, he says, you don't need to run a software simulation to estimate expected length of combat. Expected number of rounds is easily approximated as the minimum of the average damage per round on each side. Which is, okay, so expected number of rounds is easily approximated as the minimum of the average damage per round on each side, which is just the sum of each combatant's expected damage per strike times the hit probability debited from opponent's HP pool and iterated down to 0. That kind of easy back of the cocktail napkin calculation is more than sufficiently accurate to assess the ballpark length and feel expected for a combat encounter, and you can even refine it for critical hits with one extra step. So there you go. Hey, Michael. A party of 3 to 5 would be 3 to 4 rounds. Yeah, if you burst into the room and you've got 3 fighters and you've got two gnolls inside, how long do I really want that to go on? Because I mean, this is also important when we're talking about trying to do a game in 2 to 2.5 hours, like the site-based adventure. If you got a 3-hour session, okay, that gives you 30 minutes on the other side, either side of it. Set up. Wait, what just happened? Did Stray really just gift 50 memberships? I just saw that hit the. Yes, Stray. Thank you very much. Wow, these memberships are going out right now. Stray just gifted 50 memberships. Thank you so much, Stray. Man, I'm looking down here. Arendelle, Relative Dimension, Quincy Kuntz, Adrian McMurray, Guardian of the Rune, Increased Volume, Iron Tiger Gaming, S. Becker, Mike, S. Becker, Daniel Wermack. Oh, hey, BGD, we're just talking about you. Lance Terrence, Seth Chapman, Bob Vecna, Kennedy Napke, whoa, Lord Kalis. I'm looking. Let me see if I see some names I recognize. If you're in the chat, Michael Pastor was just gifted a membership. Nathaniel Benge, Brett Hamilton, Laser Brained, scruffy looking nerf herder. We know him. If you're in the chat here live, please say hi. If you just received a membership. Wow, this is fun watching all this go through. Dungeon Master, I see. Chris O'Matic, TNG, the Notorious Gamer, Sam Houghton. Thank you so much, Stray. That's incredible. Oh, yeah, Jason was just gifted a membership as well. Oh, it's still going. Van Davis. All right. Man, that was fun. Thank you so much, Stray. Maybe some of them will come in and watch the show. So people are getting the heraldry back, right? Getting their coats of arms back and their shields. Thank you very much, Stray. That was a lot of fun. Maybe some people will be coming in. Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's fun. I need to look at that because it does. Looking over here, all so many shields down the chat now. Those were fun to make up. Okay, thank you very much, Dre. So, all right. So we were talking about, we were just reading BGD, what you were talking about, and estimating the number of rounds of combat. So Titter Pig Rancher says, my rule of thumb, the number of players you have at your table is the number of rounds that a combat should last on average. Yeah, and I would feel differently, if we were talking about the number of, if we charged in and we just had wizards or, different kinds of non-combat classes. But we have, right, 3 fighters. Mike says 3 fighters versus 2 gnolls. 2 to 3 rounds sounds like the amount of time it should take for them to kill those guys. I mean, I agree that it seems like it should be short and intense. And of course, they didn't actually kill both of them. By the time one of them was dead and the other one was wounded, he gave up and had a talk. I didn't roll a morale roll or anything. I just had one of them decide not to fight anymore and beg that he could get away. So let's say I want to compute the expected length of combat for an AD&D game. Let's use the example 3 fighters against 2 gnolls. And as my friend ChatGPT says, and not as my friend BGD says, let's just copy what BGD says and put this over here. So let's ask it, does that sound like a reasonable way? Like a reasonable way to calculate expected combat length? It may be able to improve on it. Let's see what it says, then we'll give it some numbers here. Because we also need to compute the value of how much damage the gnolls are doing and put those back. I am not using the Canva option. No. In fact, I don't know anything about it. It's for no particular reason. I just don't know much about that. So, okay. It says that's a perfectly sensible ballpark method. You're effectively computing average damage per round, chance to hit times average number of hit on a die for each side, then seeing how many rounds to take to deplete the opponent's hit points. All right. It won't catch every nuance. Critical hits that kill a target earlier than expected. Morale checks or sudden spell effects, but it's more accurate enough for a quick cocktail napkin estimate. Okay. Well, then here's some stats. Let's see. We are using AD&D old school Thaco. Do you know how to compute that? It says, let's see, figuring out Thaco adjustments. Okay. Yes. Okay. It gives some math here. Yes, to hit armor class 0, needed roll is equal to Thaco minus target's AC. That's exactly what I would say. He says there's the back of the, we could slightly adjust the probability and average damage. Auto hit on a 20, auto miss on a 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the way we were doing critical hits. I know this is pretty incredible, right? I mean, isn't all RPG design going to be AI assisted RPG design at this point? So let's say we are not doing for my game, we are not doing auto misses on 1 or fumbles of any kind. 1 is just a normal number. But on 20, I let the players take max damage of their weapon and then add another die roll to that to make sure a critical hit always does significant damage, and they never have do less damage on a crit than a normal hit. Never do less damage on a crit does that make sense? Do you need any other information before I give you the stats of the warriors involved for the calculation? Let's see. Judging critical hits, evaluating success factors, weighing options, clarifying mechanics, refining hit probabilities. Okay. Before crunching, it says, okay, it does make sense. In practice, you're like, how can you possibly not say this doesn't understand? This does make sense. In practice, you're ensuring that any natural 20 always deals at least maximum weapon damage plus another die, so there's no chance a critical hit does less damage than a normal hit. It's a clean way to handle criticals. Before crunching numbers, here's the typical, thank you, ChatGPT. Here's the number of points to clarify for your probability expected damage calculations. A 20 always hits. Oh, man. Okay, it's got some questions here. We need to clarify. I always do like to ask it, is there anything else that you need to know before we go on? And it often comes up with some very good clarifications. So is 20 always a hit, auto hit? If a 20 is treated as a critical, regardless of the needed roll, then you have a 5% chance of a critical on every attack. If it's not auto hit, rare in old school games, but possible, then you only crit on a 20 if your needed roll is 20 or less. Excellent point in ChatGPT. Okay, so let's go ahead and start that. So great questions. Great questions for clarification. Let's make the 20 an auto hit, as well as critical damage. Note, however, that monsters do not roll critical damage. They're probably going to hit on a 20 anyway. Let's say, hey, David, good to see you this morning. Let's say 20's auto hit for monsters, but they roll damage normally. This gives the players an edge. ChatGPT also asked, do strength weapon bonuses apply twice? When you say max weapon damage plus an extra roll, do you also add strength or magic weapon bonuses to both portions? A common approach is max base weapon die plus another weapon die, then add strength once. So your crit scale is inflated by the attribute bonus. Good point. Let's add the strength ones. As our critical calculation. And then it also says average damage for a critical. If your base damage is 1dx plus strength normally, then a crit you get x maximum weapon die plus 1dx, the extra roll plus strength usually once. The average of 1dx is x plus 1 divided by 2. So the expected total of the die portion is x plus 1 over 2 is equal to 3x plus 1 over 2. If you add strength once, that goes on top. Okay. Incorporating crits into expected damage for each attack. If the overall expected damage is approximately equal to, I think that's what that's talking about right there. Oh, that might not have outputted correctly. Okay, I mean, I think that looks good. So let's use that. Let me give you the fighters stats next. The crit and then the threat range, and then follow up to crit. Okay, so we had 3. So let's tell it. We have 3. Well, I hit the wrong thing. We have 3 fighters. Well, we have on the player side. We have Beldar. We have 2 fighters. One is Beldar with a Thaco of 20, 10 hit points. Because if on average the heroes hit XP first, or hit their HP first, then they're going to die. 10 hit points. And a damage of 1d8 plus 1. And that plus 1 comes from strength. All right. Then we have, Devlar Iron Fist. The other fighter is Devlar with a Thaco of 20, a damage of 1d8, and HP of 12. Yeah, see, these guys have a lot of HP. And then we next have here we go. Finally, we have Silverleaf Half Moon, a fighter wizard with, okay, see, this is where it gets complicated here. Not that ChatGPT can't handle it, but let's just see. With a Thaco of 20 when using a quarterstaff, which is 1d6 damage, and a Thaco of 20. Isn't RPG game design complicated, right? Thaco of 20 when, a Thaco of 19 when shooting his bow, damage 1d8. He has an AC. Oh, did I talk about everybody's AC? I did not. Beldar has a Thaco of 20, 10 hit points, and damage of AC. He also has a Thaco. He also, that's important, also has an AC of, okay, what was Beldar's AC? Armor class of 4. AC of 4. The other fighter is Devlar, who has, and he has an AC of 4 as well. HP of 12 and a Thaco of 4. He has an AC of, so this is the fighter wizard. AC of 10. And how many hit points does he have? 7 hit points. All right. So on the player side, we have two fighters. One is Beldar with a Thaco of 20, 10 hit points, and a damage of 1d8 plus 1, and that plus 1 comes from strength. He also has an AC of 4. The other fighter is Devlar with a Thaco of 20, a damage of 1d8, and 12 hit points, and a Thaco of 4. Finally, we have Silverleaf Half Moon, a fighter wizard with a Thaco of 10. Using a quarterstaff. Thaco of 20 when using the quarterstaff, 1d6, a Thaco of 19 when shooting his bow. They are fighting two gnolls. Here we go. All right. They are fighting two gnolls that have AC 5. Thaco 19. Oh, it says damage by weapon. What else do we know about them? AC, hit dice. Oh, I gotta go over here. Oh, I got this box over here. We'll see exactly what was going on here. I thought by having the monster manual out, I'd have everything I need. Here is the Dungeon Master's Guide, which has all the stuff in it. Good morning, RPG Exile. Good morning. They are okay. Hit points, doing 2d4 damage. Do 2d4 damage with Morning Stars and have 8 and 9 hit points respectively. And have one has 8 hit points and one has 9. According to our back of the envelope math, or back of the cocktail napkin math, what is supposed to happen in this combat? And how long does it last? On average. Let's see what it says. I'm curious. Because this is the right use for this kind of technology, right? Calculating Beldar's average damage. Calculating average damage. Breaking down hit probabilities. Assessing Knoll's impact. This is fun. Estimating round counts. Assigning Knoll targets. Analyzing Knoll focus. This could, I mean, this is quite. Okay, so here we go. It says, below is a back of the napkin calculation for how many rounds this fight might last using the expected damage per round method. We'll break it down into steps. Then we'll compare how quickly the PCs eliminate the gnolls versus how quickly the gnolls eliminate the party. You'll see the PCs have a noticeable edge, likely finishing the gnolls in around 3 rounds on average. Okay, well, that's better than I thought. PC, but it is what we were just talking about, right? All 3 PCs have Thaco 20 with melee weapons, except for Silverleaf's bow of Thaco 19. So let's compute each one's chance to hit. Oh, it's going to walk me through exactly how it did this? Okay, well, that's cool. Each one's chance to hit an average damage die, including your critical rule. Chance to hit, ignoring 1 equals auto miss. Needed to roll Thaco minus target's AC is equal to 20. Is equal to 20 minus 5 is 15. On a D20, rolling 15 to 19 is 5 outcomes, 25% chance, and rolling a 20 is another 5% auto hit, which is also critical for the PCs. Normal hit probability is 25%, critical hit probability is 5%, miss probability is 70%. I mean, that's the miss probability being 70%. Sucks. Okay, but all right, but it's, you know, so I want to ask it, like, how far on the outlier were we for our first combat? Beldar, so Beldar, are we still talking about Beldar here? Oh no, now we're breaking it down to Beldar. Beldar is damage die 1d8, average normal damage 4.5 plus 1 is equal to 5.5. Critical damage is max base damage die plus another die 1d8 plus 1 strength bonus once equals 8 plus 4.5 is equal to 13.5 average damage on a crit. That's pretty epic. You know, I was talking about, okay, I think we should build this around like 6 points being what's necessary to slay the normal man, you know, like outright. So in this particular system, as we were kind of playing here, let's see, the critical hits really matter. I mean, 13.5. I mean, that's going to kill. So he can't kill on average. He's not killing the gnome. Well, on average, that's interesting. He's doing 5.5 damage. So he's close to outright slaying. You know, if normal men have 4 to 5 points of hit points, Beldar, even at level 1, and I think this is important to note, and about how to build the game anyway, that he's basically doing enough damage to kill someone outright. On average, when he hits, on average. And then on critical damage, man, he's almost doing enough damage to drop somebody twice. So expected damage per round is 25% times 5.5 plus 5% times 13.5 crit is equal to 0.25 times 5.5, blah, blah, blah. That's telling me that his average, that drops his average down, because this miss probability of 70% really hurts. So that drops Beldar to 2.05 damage per round. Whereas Devlar, this is the dwarf fighter. Okay, he's got an average of 4.5, just with 1d8 point of 1d8 damage. Critical damage of 12.5. So he's not quite as good as Beldar because he's not quite as strong. Yeah, Beldar has strength 17. Devlar has strength 15, although Beldar now has strength 16 because he got hit by that shadow. Devlar is doing 1.75 damage per round. And Silverleaf, with the calculation from the quarterstaff and the longbow, he is better with his longbow, which makes sense because he's Thaco 19. He's doing 1.35 damage per round with the quarterstaff and 1.975 damage per round with the longbow. We'll assume Silverleaf uses the bow for maximum effectiveness. Makes sense because that's exactly what my nephew did. So the party's total damage per round is 5.78 versus an AC 5. I know. See, that's the kicker to me. That's really the kicker here, is that 70% of the time, miss probability of 70% of the time, my nephews are sitting there rolling dice and not hitting the bad guy. I mean, and I realized we didn't exactly get to fixing that last round, but that's what like the faded edge dice are supposed to fix. And it occurs to me I really need to get that the digital dice like that instantiated so that we can use that. In fact, we might even I wonder if ChatGPT can simulate that. Probably can. But then also, I mean, I'm working on some other things, but I need to get those like dice, I guess 3D sculpted or something, and so they can be printed and be used physically and try them out. Because we've done a whole lot of work on that on the grind. Because I don't like that. I want to evaluate its swinginess too. So, I mean, this is telling me the party's total damage per round is 5.78. And when you're looking at gnolls with 8 and 9 hit points, that doesn't sound so bad. But what's introducing the swinginess, and what I often just casually refer to as the randomness here, is that 70% of the time they're not hitting. And I don't like that. But okay, let's work with that later. Let's just see what the situation here says. So the gnolls offense versus PC AC. Each gnoll has a Thaku of 19, does 2d4 average 5 damage on a hit, and does not deal specific crit damage on a 20. So that was just my special rule right here. No, fated, F-A-T-E-D. That's kind of what we've been working on for a long time here on the grind. So checking each one against the gnoll's chance to hit. Beldar is AC 4, needed roll 15, 30% chance to hit. Average damage per hit. Expected damage versus Beldar per gnoll is 1.5. Maybe we could ask it that. So maybe it's something we could ask. That'd be interesting. Devlar, same math as Beldar, also 1.5 damage per round from each gnoll. Silverleaf is squishy. Because Silverleaf has an AC of 10. Expected DPR per gnoll is actually 3 points of damage. In actual play, gnolls decide who to target. If they both swing at Beldar, that's 3 DPR total. If they go after Silverleaf, AC 10, each gnoll would do 3 DPR per turn, which is 6 DPR total. However, for a rough overall approach, we'll often average it out or assume they're each attacking one of the front line fighters. Okay, makes sense because they try to protect Silverleaf. Silverleaf's using his bow from behind because he's not wearing armor. So that makes sense. So let's generally say that in the event of not a big tactical screw up, the fighters are protecting the much more squishy fighter wizard. So it makes sense. Total HP and time to kill. Gnolls total HP 17. PC's total HP 29. PC's killing gnolls. Using PC DR equals approximately DPR is approximately 5.78. The number of rounds for the PCs to drop 17 hit points is 2.94 rounds. So about 3 rounds for the party to kill both gnolls on average. Gnolls killing PCs. It depends on how they focus their attacks. If each gnoll focuses on the 4 AC fighters, combined DPR is about 3. Killing all 29 PC HP would take roughly 9.71 rounds. If instead both gnolls dogpile Silverleaf, I like that. If instead both gnolls dogpile Silverleaf, each gnoll has a DPR of 3 for a total of 6 DPR versus Silverleaf's 7 HP, so he's likely to go down in 1 to 2 rounds, but the other 2 fighters will remain. So given the PC's higher combined DPR, the fight basically lasts 3 rounds before the gnolls drop. In that time, the gnolls might do about 3 rounds times 3 DPR equals about 9 points distributed among the party, more if they target Silverleaf aggressively. It's quite likely the PCs will win with minimal losses, though Silverleaf risks being taken out if the gnolls focus on him. This cocktail napkin approach won't capture all possible swings or crit luck, but shows the PCs have a strong advantage and will usually win in 3 rounds. Okay. So surprisingly, hey, Doc Flamingo. Doc Flamingo says, good morning, fish worshiping weirdos. Good morning, Doc Flamingo. Well, I know, exactly. So that's exactly what we were trying to fix. Rolling 1 die is always going to be swingy. You can roll 2 dice of the same size, but bell curve isn't what we're... bell curve didn't do what we wanted it to do, or what I wanted to do anyway. That was my initial thing. Oh, go bell curve. That actually doesn't help like I want. Then make the target DC just over the average. Traveler does this with 2d6. Most DCs in Traveler are 8+, so it's just 1 over the average of 7 on 2d6. Okay, well, let's talk to ChatGPT about the issue. Okay, so the issue is that rolling 1d20 or 1 d20 to hit is swingy. And in fact, even though the average rounds each PC having a 70% chance of missing means a high probability that their turn will come and go without having them affect the game state. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about, right? How often, so even if the average works, there might be tails. Like tails isn't of the situations which might occur relatively frequently where nothing happens. Combine that with the idea with the Knowles probability of miss. What is the chance we are going to have whole rounds go by with either only the PCs, either the PCs not affecting the game state, or no one, Knowles included, affecting the game state? Let's see what it says. This is potentially better than running a whole bunch of simulations. Having options in combat that grant situational modifiers, good and bad, for different tactics makes things more dynamic and fun. I agree, Michael, and that's actually something I was working on adding in. I think it's important to have things like flanking modifiers and attack from the rear. So if your turn comes up and you realize, oh, wait a minute, I can go, the Knoll is attacking Beldar, I can run over and I can stab him in the back. I think that kind of stuff is good. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I think is good. Okay, so here's the estimate. Here's how to estimate the chance that nobody lands a blow in a given round, or that only one side affects the game state. We'll use the probabilities you already identified. PC side, 3 fighters, each has a 30% chance to hit, and that's a 30% chance to miss. Knoll side, 2 Knolls versus AC 4 fighters. Each Knoll also has a 30% chance to hit and 70% chance to miss. We'll assume 1 attack per character per round and ignore Silverleaf's different AC and ranged options for now, just to keep things straightforward. Probabilities that all PCs miss. Because each of the 3 PCs has a 70% miss chance, P of all 3 PCs miss is equal to 0.7 raised to the 3rd power, or 0.343. I guess that's 34.3% chance. Didn't we have an estimation of like a 12% or something last time? So that seems like, so 34% of the time. Oh yeah, and I do love any dice. Yes, you're right. Doc Flamingo, member for 12 months, says any dice will give you probabilities for any dice combo. And I do love any dice. I used it extensively, actually. We've used it on the show too here. So probabilities that both Knolls miss. Each Knoll has a 70% chance. You get P, both Knolls miss, 0.72 is equal to 0.49, 49% chance. Probability that nobody hits in a round. This is the chance that all 3 PCs miss and both Knolls miss. Nobody hits 16.8. So roughly 1 in 6 rounds, you'll get a complete whiff round. I like that it uses complete whiff round. Yeah. Hey, RPG Exile. Good morning. Where nobody affects the game state. Probability that at least one PC hits. P, at least one PC hits. Probability for each round outcome. Okay, well, here we go. Okay, probabilities for each round outcome. Nobody hits 16.8. PCs hits, gnomes miss. So PCs do something is 32.2. PCs miss, gnolls hit 17.5. Both sides hit 33.5. This adds up to 100%. So it's saying that we can look at, okay, does nobody hit? Do the PCs land a hit or the gnolls land a hit? Okay, so interpretation, according to ChatGPT. About 16.8% of rounds result in no impact from either side, nearly 1 in 6 rounds. Another 17.5 feature gnolls hitting but all PCs missing. Roughly 32.2 see PCs making an impact while gnolls do nothing. And about 33.5 of the time, both sides cause damage in the same round. In practice, that approximately, it says, 16 to 17% nothing happens outcome can feel high if you're not fond of whiff rounds. It's not so large that it nullifies the game, but is frequent enough that in some fights you might see 2 or 3 such rounds in a row by pure chance, leading to a sense of slog. And I agree with that. That's precisely why GMs tweak probabilities or add house rules like secondary effects or partial damage or near hits to reduce whiff states. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I'm going to tell it. And also, if we add the no impact probability to the probability that just the PCs miss and yet take damage from the gnolls, this well, what is, how many times are the PCs going to be completely ineffective in affecting game state? Basically doing nothing while they're playing the game. Okay, let's go to, all right, let's go to the escalation dice next. Let's see what it says about that. And then, like, how do we solve this problem? So it says, from the four outcome breakdown, the PCs fail to impact the game state in exactly the scenario where all 3 PCs miss, whether or not the gnolls land a hit. I mean, and you're right, this is all 3 PCs not landing a hit. You know, you could have one guy there who doesn't hit a lot. I've been that guy. That's the sum of nobody hits 16.8, PCs miss, gnolls hit 17.5. Add those together and you get 33.4. So roughly in 1/3 of the rounds, the PCs don't contribute any damage or mechanical impact at all. Over multiple combats, it can definitely feel like too many empty turns for players, even if the average outcome suggests a short fight overall. That's the crux of why some GMs seek to reduce whiff chances with house rules or alternate attack mechanics. Now, of course, part of that's probably through prompting ChatGPT kind of agreeing with me, but yes, I mean, so if having a 1/3 chance in any particular combat round that my PCs are not going to be able to affect the game state positively in this relatively favorable combat with them is, I mean, not great. I mean, you're going to roll 1/3 quite a bit, but then you add into that mix that half of that time they were taking damage by the gnolls. And that makes them feel even more helpless, I think. Okay, so let's do exactly. People are asking about this 13 age escalation die. Okay, so I want to fix this problem. When swords are out and a fight is happening, I want it to feel punchy and exciting with significant outcomes, with significant mechanical outcomes. One thing that has been suggested to me is the escalation dice. Spelled that wrong. Escalation die, as it appears, 13th age. This means that in every combat round after the first, all fighters or all combatants, to make sure we're not, I think that's the way it runs. I don't know. All combatants receive a +1 to hit per round. Is that what we're doing? This increases the potential for damage for each round that goes by. How does this change my back of the napkin expectations of this combat? Let's see. So let's see. So Robert also said, okay, maybe try lowering the PC's Thaco to say 15 and monsters to 17 and rerun the simulation. I'd like to try that too, because maybe that's it. Because like Robert was trying to talk about this, and apparently there was accidental confusion last time, with his comments not showing up in chat. But yeah, so maybe that's it. So there's you can alter the dice, or maybe we can just drop the AC in Thaco. I think, right, it's cumulative, and I think that's the way that it did that. Wait, let's just ask it. Let me clarify. The +1 is cumulative. After the first. Did you consider that? Hey, Nathaniel. Good morning. Okay, so yes, those calculations already assume that the bonuses stack each round. +1 in round 2, +2 in round 3, and so on. Specifically, round 1, no bonus. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, in the example, we stopped at round 3 because the null will be finished by then. Okay, so let's see what it actually says by that. Okay, so you want to know about escalation dice? Here is how escalation die works. Okay. Quick iterative time to kill estimate. We'll use the same baseline from the cocktail napkin approach, but each round after the first grants +1 to everyone's attack roll and so on. Your baseline data, PCs versus AC5 had a combined DPR of about 5.78 in round 1. Nulls and AC4 versus AC4 had a combined DPR of 3 in round 1. Nulls total HP 17, PCs total HP 29. Round by round approximation. Round 1 with no escalation bonus. The PCs deal approximately 5.78 damage. Gnolls deal 3. Approximately 3. Gnolls drop to 17. To 17 minus 5.78, so they have 11.22 HP left, and the PCs drop to 29 minus 3 for 26 HP left. Round 2, everybody gets a +1 to hit. So we are raising the chances to hit by 5%, so we can approximate each side's DPR multiplies by approximately 1.17. So the PCs do 6.73 points of damage. The Gnolls do 3.5, and at the end of the round 2, the Gnolls had 11.22 and lost another 6.73 points of damage for 4.49, which means one of those Gnolls is dead. Yeah, that one of those Gnolls is dead. PCs is 26 minus 3.5 is 22.5. And then after round 3, we have a +2 to hit. Another approximately 5% bump in chance to hit. The modifiers from no bonus is to +2 is about 10% total. You can ballpark another jump to 1.3 times the original. So the PCs are now doing 7.71 points of damage. The Gnolls are doing 4. Gnolls drop below HP sometime in round 0, drop to below 0 HP sometime in round 3. They're now sitting at like negative 3.22. The fight likely ends here. Conclusion: even with the escalation die, you still land at about 3 rounds to finish the Gnolls, but the biggest quality of play difference is there are fewer whiff streaks in rounds 2 and 3. Fewer whiff rounds. Hey, good morning, Keith. Good to see you. The real impact of the escalation die is on hit probability each round. Round 1, the PCs need a 15 to hit, 30% chance. Round 2, everyone effectively needs a 14, right? Round 3, everyone needs a 13, and so forth. So let's look at just round 1 versus round 3 as an example. Round 1, the PCs have a 30% chance to hit, so 70% to miss. All 3 missing is 34.3. Gnolls have a 70% chance to miss, so both missing is 49%. Chance that no one hits is 16.8. Round 3, compare this to round 3. By the escalation die, okay, by then the escalation die is +2, so the chance to hit is about 40%, 60% chance misses. So all PCs miss becomes 21.6. Down from 34.3. Chance both miss is 0.36. So the chance that no one hits is down to 7.8%. So by round 3, that's very interesting. So just by the +1, by round 3, the probability of a whiff round has more than halved from 16.8 down to 7.8%. So the escalation die dramatically cut down on consecutive empty rounds, accelerating the action if the fight lasts more than a round or 2. That's interesting because, okay, +1 to hit. Okay, everybody gets a +1. But that is showing that dramatic effect. So, I mean, ChatGPT for the win here as far as doing this kind of analysis, because, I mean, that wouldn't have necessarily been intuitive to me that by the time you're at +2 and only a +2, you have now more than halved or halved your empty round probability. So that is interesting. Final takeaways. Doc Flamingo says, my concern here is that in a fight where the PCs are an initially minor disadvantage could quickly cause them to be slaughtered quickly in the event of the escalation die. Because in that case, if the PCs are at a minor disadvantage, then it starts to increase the other side against them. So the average time to kill is still about 3 rounds, but the chance of going from 2 to 3 rounds with no hits in a row is much lower under the escalation die. As each round passes, the added bonuses pile up, making hits more likely. This solves the problem of repeated whiff rounds in old school AD&D math. You keep the gritty feel early on, but the fight rapidly becomes decisive if it drags on, delivering that fast, punchy experience you're aiming for. Okay. Well, let's do what Robert was talking about. Okay. Let's do another calculation. But this time, let's not include the escalation die. But go for a much more straightforward. This may be too much. Like basically, what we found out with the escalation die. I mean, I'm curious, really curious to know. A much more straightforward approach of lowering the Thaco of both sides increase hit probability. Let's give PCs a Thaco. What would you say, Robert? A Thaco of 17. Okay, a Thaco of 15. A 15, and the Knolls a Thaco of 17. Let's rerun our back of the napkin calculation. Let's see. I'm curious. This may get bloody real fast. Actually, what might happen is this might get bloody real fast. Yeah, exactly. So the Titter Pig says, this is really cool to break down. The escalation die doesn't dramatically lower the length of combat, but does significantly improve the feel of combat. Because I'm kind of with everybody that, if you do get the drop, another thing, if we said, actually, the Knolls are surprised, you really do get the drop on the Knolls, then maybe 2 rounds of combat is enough. But I'm with everybody that even if not that, 2 to 3. So 2 to 3 rounds, we should have been done with that Knoll combat and then moving on to something else. Because that matters because, like I said, if you're only talking about playing for 2 to 2.5 hours, I don't want this combat with this Knoll, these 2 Knolls in the very first room to take up 15 minutes of that time. I mean, it's not worth it. I want something decisive and bloody to happen and then move on. And we're going into another, searching for treasure, finding some cool stuff, and then moving into another room. That's what I want. And I don't want my players, especially when they're my nephews, to be sitting, nobody, but especially my nephews sitting there like, okay, we're doing things and nothing hit. And actually had no effect on anything. Okay, so let's see. This could be really bloody based on that. PCs versus Knolls AC5. Okay, on a DC 20, hitting is 10. Needed roll Thaco minus AC is equal to 15 minus 5. Yes. So hitting on a 10 to 19 is taking into account the critical hit. Total chance to hit 55%. For Silverleaf using a bow, it's taking that into account, 60% total. Knolls versus PC's AC4, needed to hit Thaco is equal to 17 minus 4 is equal to 13. That's 13 minus 9, or that 13 to 19 is 7 outcomes, 35%, plus another 20 is 5% for auto hit. Knolls do 2d4 damage, average 5 on a hit, no special critical hit. Oh, hey, PH. Good morning. PC damage per round. We use the formula hit probability normal times average normal damage plus crit probability times average crit damage. Remember, on a critical, thank you for calling this out again, the PCs do max weapon die plus 1 extra die plus strength once. So Beldar, in this case, is doing average, again, average damage, 5.5, because it hasn't changed average damage. We've changed crit probability or hit probability. So now Beldar's damage per round is 3.425. Because wasn't it down at 2? I think if I scroll up, it was down at 2. So now he's up at 3.4. Devlar is at 2.8. Silverleaf with his bow, he's doing 3.1. Now, see, I also would like to do if armor class was damage resistant. I know I want to look at that too because I still like that. And I was talking to ChatGPT about that exact same thing, Michael, the other day. I wonder what would happen if armor class was damage resistance instead of AC bonus. If the goal is swift combat, you have a couple of things in your way, not just whiff rounds. HP and damage rolls will also drag combat. Yes. Yeah, but we're handling one at a time at the moment. We're trying to. So, okay, so Gnolls damage per round. The Gnolls are dishing out 4 per round. And it will change if the target Silverleaf. Hit points and estimated time to kill. The Gnolls combined HP 17, PCs combined HP 29, PCs versus Gnolls. This makes it so that PCs versus Gnolls rounds is approximately equal to 17 divided by 9.40. So yes, 17, that which is the Gnolls hit points divided by 9.4, which is average damage across all of them. So in about 2 rounds on average, the party will take a party to drop the Gnolls. The Gnolls will drop in 2 rounds. It would take the Gnolls approximately 7 rounds to drop the PCs if no healing or other tactics intervened. Because the PCs now have approximately a 55 to 60% chance to hit, and the Gnolls have 40%, you get fewer completely empty rounds. Probability that all 3 PCs miss drops to 8.1%. Probability that both Gnolls miss is 0.36%. Probability that no one hits is 2.9%. So there's only about a 3% chance the whole round passes without any hits. Much better than the previous approximately 17%. I would totally agree with that. Like, who knows when those 3%, those rounds are going to come up. So yeah, it can happen. And other mechanics in the game would end up being something where you were trying to prevent there from being those at all. But that math, yeah, Robert says that worked. That does help out quite a bit by dropping that. So with Thaco 15 for the PCs and Thaco 17 for the Gnolls, this skirmish likely ends in 2 rounds with the Gnolls down thanks to the high PC damage output. Meanwhile, the Gnolls would need around 7 rounds to bring down 3 PCs, barring focus fire on Silverleaf's low AC. Most importantly, nearly every round sees someone hitting, greatly reducing the nothing happens problem. Oh, thank you for posting the Discord link, Stray. So where does that get us? So, yeah, I mean, I guess that is that, okay, in this kind of environment right here, I guess the thing that does the least violence to the game, and in the sense of altering its rules, which I'm not against, and there are other things I want to do. But if you just rescaled the Thaco lists, then you would know. So Robert says, so just check the Thaco advancement tables per level. How much before the PCs get 15 Thaco? Wouldn't that be 5? I mean, we're I got the AD&D Player's Handbook right here. I mean, there might be adjustments for other types of, some kind of to hit or whatever. Oh, but also, this book is not organized incredibly well. I can't just turn to Fighter and figure out what his Thaco is, stupidly. He's probably in the combat section. Combat. Calculating Thaco. Yeah, calculated Thacos. Okay, down here. So the warriors, and I mean, they were supposed to be the fighters here. The warriors get a Thaco of 15 at AC at level 6. At level 6. because in AD&D, which is different, we'll go and look that up in OSE as well. But in AD&D right here, by the time you're at level 6, the warriors have a Thaco of 15. The wizard would still have a Thaco of 19. In this case, we got a fighter wizard. The rogues would have 18, and the priests would have. Actually, the priests have 18 as well. That's interesting. So, I mean, you're talking about something more along the lines of a 5th level character in that case. Let's see. I'm going to go right over here. Let's go. I got the old school essentials as well. Let's go over here to fighter, since that's what they are, because the fighter's progression was different over here. Thaco, well, in old school essentials, the fighter never gets a Thaco of 15. The fighter will have a Thaco of, well, it starts with a Thaco of 19, so slightly better, which I do like. Level 4 in OSE, the fighter gets a Thaco of 17. And then at level 7, the Thaco drops to 14. So the fighters stay at Thaco 17 for levels 4, 5, and 6, and then drop to 14. So, yeah. Of course, multiple attacks is another thing that could happen. Yeah. There's several different ways to potentially solve this problem. And I do now AD&D has multiple attacks, I think starting at level 6 or something like that for the fighter. And I understand that's a pretty common house rule for fighters in like OSE as when fighting 1 HD monsters, that they will often get an additional attack or something according to their level or something like that. I don't know. How do I find that? What about OD&D? I'm not sure. I'd have to look up, like, no, do we have the white box? Well, I don't know exactly where to find it in the white box. Yeah, so low level AD&D sounds a bit grindy. Yeah, so maybe, I guess if you're just trying to change that up, like what would be the problem with increasing the Thaco of your lower level characters into something that they can hit faster and just make a across the board maybe 2-point drop in the Thacos of the creatures? Maybe. I guess that's what this has kind of taught us. I think there are other kind of fun things to do here, but it's kind of more like advancing people to a 5th or 6th level character. Let's see. I was talking to, so PH Arbeck says he's just an off-topic indication. Have you seen Riff Fusion? It's a new AI tool for doing music. It's currently in beta and now for free. Really enjoying it. I actually did watch something on Riff Fusion, and I was telling Retro Nerd Girl and Doug about it because they like making music too. So I have heard about that one. I haven't used it. I watched it and I told them about it. Mike says a bit grindy, but the escalation die might be a solution where you would allow them to level up without advancing people's level. They'll allow them to level up. So yeah, maybe that's something also that could be done. That if you're okay with including the escalation dice early on and then dropping it later, you could give somebody escalation die during combat at low levels until they get about to 5th or something. Well, this was interesting. Okay, so I think this was worth doing. I want to change a few things. I guess my changes with the dice. Well, I don't know. I guess I would say if we're changing around the dice, then what is kind of going on here would be similar to what Robert's solution is. Just we need to drop these ACs here. And then there are other things to add, because I do want to add the individual wounds. I still think the vitality wound system is a good one to add in. But I'm going to, this is going to be a good conversation to continue with ChatGPT as well. This is kind of game changing in the ability to do these kinds of calculations fast. And not necessarily, and this was a great idea from BGD to like look at combat this way from the back of the envelope kind of situation, rather than trying to simulate everything. Like I wanted to simulate some of our different wounds. Like when I was thinking about simulating something with Python, I want to know, like, if it matters that you take a grievous wound rather than a light wound. Like, how often are the PCs going to be, end up with a grievous wound, and what does that mean? Versus, do they just get away with light wounds? Because I do also like that kind of stuff potentially, because that changes the narrative of the whole game. Okay, when we're talking about something significant that happens in the game, yeah, loss of hit points is significant. Okay, I had 8 and now I got 5. Okay, that's significant. But adding in some kind of detail about what exactly that wound means, even if it doesn't have a mechanical impact, and I just mean that in the purest sense of the rules, knowing that, if you're role playing and you're doing something, knowing that you've been injured in the leg might be different from being injured in the arm, and give you something else to go on as you're playing the game, rather than just, okay, well, I lost 3 hit points. So I want to talk about that as well. So yes, 01 for the win. This is 01 for the win. Didn't even need Python. I don't think I have access to 4.5 yet, which I don't think is supposed to be very analytical, or as analytical. But I watched the introduction of that while I was out actually working on grapevines the other day. So we will experiment with that as well. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here and do some other work, but thank you very much for hanging out with me this Sunday. We'll continue this soon. May have some other things to work on, but we're going to continue this soon because this is something I want to work on. So I will talk to everybody later. Have a wonderful day. Go forth, be creative, and be constructive. Later.